Good morning, Service Alliance community. Hope you're all doing well out there.
Good
How are you,
morning.
Jason?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm well. I couldn't be better.
Well, there you go. That's a good thing. I'm 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10?
7 out of 10. Yeah.
Glass is 3/4 of the way full.
It's true. It's better than a 3 out of 10. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Just don't tip that glass.
Yeah, I got the EJ effect going with partial lighting and trying something a little different today. So
yeah, it works.
Yeah, that works. Man, it's gonna be a great day. It's gonna be a great day. Got a good subject we're talking about. Yeah.
Predictable profits in appliance repair today.
Yeah, that we are.
So today's episode, this one hits a lot of nerves. Especially those riding that feast or famine life cycle of revenue. I mean, we've all been there. 1 month you're slammed. Next minute, you're like, why aren't my phones ringing?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're wondering, where am I going to cover my bills and what do I have to do to get there? So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to smooth over those peaks and valleys in your business. And we got some strategies and, maybe even some good nuggets for you that you didn't realize. Hopefully.
Smoothie. So, the song was that Smooth Operator. He's a smooth operator. That came to my mind for some reason. So
now that this is going on YouTube, you're gonna have to pay royalties for that.
No, I could. It's not going to recognize that voice.
Nope.
Oh boy!
All right, let's open us up in prayer, and we'll get going into this topic.
Sounds like a plan. All right, Father God, thank you for the gift of stewardship over our businesses, over our families, and our finances. Today, we just ask you for wisdom to build systems that bring stability and not stress, and teach us to serve others with integrity and excellence, and help us to operate in faith, not fear. Bless every listener with insight, and bless them with clarity and the courage to implement what they hear today. And above all, may somebody who's watching this see your love through our actions. Amen.
Amen, brother.
I got a Post-it note here. It says, "Fear drives everything. When you get a handle on your fear, you can control the world." So I don't know. That just popped up as I was praying there. It's literally
what they say fear stands for: false events appearing real.
Yeah. So, all right. I like it. Hello to all of our viewers today.
Yeah.
Glad you joined us. And we're going to dive into
our verse today, Proverbs 13:11. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it.
Makes me think of squirrels. Talk about a squirrel. Squirrel. What do the squirrels do? They gather so they can have food over the wintertime, right? So that's a good verse. I like that. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle.
But did you know, little fun fact, squirrels forget where they bury 70% of their nuts.
Really?
They do. There's some wild study that somebody paid a hell of a lot of millions of dollars to have done. They forget 70% of the nuts that they bury. They forget where they bury them. And it's funny because that's all part of God's design.
Yeah.
Because then those trees or those nuts grow into trees, and then those trees produce more nuts. So they can gather even more of them.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, today we're definitely going to be talking about different ways to gather your nuts and not forget where they're at. We're going to start off with talking about predictable revenue and why that matters more than ever. So, yeah. According to Home Advisor, here's a statistic. 45% of homeowners wait until something breaks to call a appliance repair person, an electrician, a plumber, which creates random revenue spikes. I know in the electrical world, it was once every 9 years. People tend to really wait and like until something breaks. So it was once every 9 years in the electrical world. I'm not sure what it is in the appliance world, but I imagine it would be more because, like the heating and air world, things break more often, than your electrical panel or a switch or whatever. So, what are those ways that you're getting in the doors? That's how we're talking about. We're going to be diving a lot into that today. So,
Yeah, I mean, most appliance repair companies have zero revenue or recurring revenue generating streams of income. They just live off one-time jobs.
Yeah.
And we've said this before, you can't look at a customer that you gain that you've spent a lot of money to get as a one-time opportunity, because it's the lifetime value of that customer that really matters.
Yeah. Creating a steady like income flow helps. Inconsistent income, it can create a lot of burnout. Helps you with not forecasting correctly, and you just end up making bad decisions. I don't know how much money I'm going to be bringing in the next 2 or 3 months, but hey, let's go buy a new van. I need a new van, but you don't know how much you're bringing in, so that's kind of a poor decision to be making. You may have one that breaks down, but is it a $400 or $500 fix to get you through to the next month versus a $20,000-$30,000 vehicle that you end up buying, to get you through for a long time? But then again, is that vehicle costing you $400 or $500 every month? Is it paid off? Right? I don't know. We got a car that has been paid off since 2018. I just had to put $1,400 in new tires, brakes, and rotors all around it. I haven't had a payment since 2018. So yeah, I'm not going to go trade my car off for $1,400 in maintenance repairs, right? So think about that. Think about what your customers are thinking as well. Am I going to sell my house just because I've got $1,400 in repairs I got to make? No, I'm going to bite the bullet, fix them because I like my house. So think about that with your customers as well.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is run a 12-month profit loss trend and circle your lowest 2 months, 3 months, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Calculate your bare minimum break even. You guys should know your numbers. You should know your cost of doing business by now. We've been preaching that forever. What it takes to cover payroll, marketing, and your basic monthly essentials and rent, whatever it may be. And then set a goal to cover 25 to 40% of that number and put recurring revenue behind it, in 6 to 12 months.
So let's dive into turning one-off jobs into long-term customers. It costs 5 times more to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing one. I'm going to give you an example here. I love this example. I've been using this example for years. All right. I go to a customer's house and I need a 8-foot step ladder. So I run to the big box store and I pay $250 for a 8-foot Louisville, really good, strong ladder. I use it at that job. And when I get done with that job, I go pitch it in the trash once I'm done. I go to the next house. I find, hey, I need an 8-foot ladder. So I go back to the box store. I pay $250 for another one. I come back. I use it at that job and I pitch it. That's like just stupidity, right? You buy an 8-foot ladder, you keep it. Same with your customers, right? It takes on average around $250 to obtain a new customer. So if you just go to that house, do one job and leave and you never talk to them again, it's like you just took that 8-foot, $250 ladder and threw it in the trash. So what are you going to do to keep that customer remembering you, calling you every time you need them, right? A single repair visit is a gateway to build a lifetime relationship. So we're going to dive into even more ways how you can turn one-off jobs into long-term customers. I hope that sets with you. And you remember, every time you go into a customer's house, $250 ladder, you're my $250 ladder today. I'm going to keep you. I'm going to use you for many, many years. You're going to keep calling me. Because I got
you need that recurring revenue and referrals from those customers. I mean, you've got to do everything that you can to make them as happy as you can get them.
Yep. So heating and air companies, they've been using maintenance plans for years. And I know we're going to dive into maintenance plans a little bit more, but heating and air companies have been using maintenance plans, service agreements for years. And on average, they can generate a couple $100,000 a year easily in maintenance plans. I know some companies that do way more than that, and I know some companies do way less than that. It's all in what you put into it. But appliance repair companies are starting to see that more and more. I was one of the first electricians in my area, and I still don't think there's any electricians in my area that are doing maintenance plans. But so I dare even say I was one of the first electricians in the country to start doing maintenance agreements at houses. We called them home protection plans. And I started those in 2004. I was on a national board to actually help incorporate maintenance agreements into electrical companies and help to build that. So I'm pretty dang proud of that. 2008, we revamped that program. And so, yeah, it can be done. Like any industry. I don't care what industry you throw at me. I can help you create a maintenance plan, maintenance agreement. So if you don't have a maintenance plan or maintenance agreements, you need help with that. A, check with a Service Alliance group. B, direct message me. I'll be glad to help you out. You know, it can be an easy thing. It can be a really difficult thing too if you make it difficult. But that's my QR code. That's my business card right there. Go ahead and scan it. Connect with me.
This is the difference between taking your business from Blockbuster to Netflix.
Yeah.
That's why Blockbuster's no longer around.
Well,
they were doing those one-time rentals, and then Netflix figured out how to do the recurring revenue and rent more than just one thing, right?
Yep.
They gave better value. They gave better service. It was a better experience. Nobody had to leave their home to go and watch a movie anymore.
Yeah.
They didn't have to return and rewind old VCR tapes or worry about scratching a DVD. So this is a real prime example of the shift that a lot of appliance repair companies need to start making just to survive at this point.
Let me give you another tidbit information. When we were selling off our heating and air side of our business back in 21, 22, the person we were utilizing to help us with that, we were trying to figure out, okay, how much do we value this out? He goes, well, the national average is when you're selling your business, for every maintenance agreement you have, it's worth about $400 to a potential buyer. So if you've got 167 heating and air maintenance agreements or appliance repair maintenance agreements, that's worth about $67,000 to the bottom line to a potential buyer. Now, I don't know about you, but every $67,000 helps if I'm going to sell my business. So that's what I was told. That was a few years ago. It may be more than that now. But the average, if you're looking at bottom line, now think about that when you go to the bank, right? You go to a bank, you need a line of credit or something like that. They're going to ask you, well, what kind of assets do you have that you can put, up against this loan or an equity line of credit, whatever it may be? Well, maintenance agreements. They're going to see those maintenance agreements, that reoccurring revenue, as something that they can actually utilize, right? So that's going to help you be a more valuable company to a potential banker, investor, a potential buyer, anything like that when you're looking to get out of your business. Or
so what you're saying is it becomes leverage.
It becomes leverage. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
So what ingredients, I mean, we talked about, priority service, good service, but discounts being a part of that, that's definitely going to help. Make sure it's clear what's included and make it easy. Just auto recurring charges. If you're going to do it monthly, I highly suggest that you sell annual billing packages.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to deal with when somebody has a failed payment, monthly. Once somebody signed up for annual, maybe you give them a discount over the monthly cost, and then chances are they'll sign up for the yearly. They'll take that discount, and then you've got them locked in for a year. Yeah. And then you just have to go and do the maintenance plan. You got to do what you're paid for and promise, right? But that can also turn into additional revenue, because now you've got them scheduled every quarter. Say you're going to be in that house 3 more times throughout that year than your first visit. So now you've got 3 more opportunities to make more sales.
Yeah.
And there's usually always something wrong with something.
Well, and it's doing your due diligence. So it's not always, you're not looking for problems. You're looking for safety concerns. I always preach safety first, right? There's a guy on social media, Justin, I want to say Justin Danger. He's a Harley Davidson salesman down in PCB, but he always gets on and is like, you know what they say, safety third. He's putting his helmets on. Anyway, I don't know why that popped in my head, but safety first, right? So whenever I would go into a house to do an evaluation, or they're signing up for a service agreement, I always include a safety evaluation, a safety inspection. So for my club members, it was a safety inspection. When I'm just going out for a regular call, it was a safety evaluation. Difference is about a 10-point inspection versus about a 50-point inspection on your electrical system. So when you're talking appliance repair, include a look over. Hey, I'm going to go through, I'm going to look at your dryer, I'm going to look at your washer, I'm going to look at the, there's all kinds of things. Washers and dryers are big. Disconnect on a water heater. You wouldn't realize it's code to have a disconnect on your water heater. And you wouldn't realize how many contractors skip putting a disconnect on a water heater. That was a $200, $250 safety concern, right? I don't like saying upgrade. I don't like saying sales, anything like that, but a $200 safety concern that I would talk to them about. It's like, hey, listen, this is code. If you ever have to pull the power, your electrical panel's on the other end of the house, or, it may be in the same room. And that's when I was like, okay, it's code, but your panel's right there. Do you really need that disconnect? Well, I can only tell you the rules, right? You have to decide. It's your house. And that's the way I would leave it. I never push.
And honestly, safety is just one way to approach it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's best to use a twofold approach. You deal with the safety issues, expose that, but then you turn it into something that they want, not something they need. When you try to sell somebody something that they need, but they're forced into it. Yeah. They're forced to fix that refrigerator because it's just down. It's broke. Their compressor's bad, whatever. Excuse me. But they are going to want to go the cheapest route possible because it was unexpected. It wasn't their choice. And now they're forced into it. Yeah. So everybody, I don't care who you are, you're going to end up being that in that mindset, in that frame of thought, right? But when you actually tactfully take this and turn it into something that they want, okay, they will pay more for something. People will always pay more for something that they want, okay? And the safety issues could be a part of that. They want those safety issues. Yeah. But I mean, like you mentioned a Harley, walk into a Harley dealer. I can guarantee you nobody's there because they've been forced to walk in there and buy a bike. They don't need a bike. Nobody needs a Harley. They're buying what they want, and they're spending a hell of a lot of money to do it and get it, right?
Well, the other part of that is
extras.
The other part of that is talk about the benefits, right? Utility savings. A lot of people want to know what the benefit of is instead of the feature. Like, hey, wow, this new lighting system in your living room is going to illuminate your house better. Who cares? What about the savings? Well, It's all LEDs, so it's going to save you money in the long run. These dimmer switches I'm putting in, you can control from your phone. It's super convenient, easy. If you're cuddling with your wife on the couch, you don't have to get up to go turn the dimmers on. Just click your phone and there you go. Benefits. People want benefits. They don't want the features.
Exactly. So what's the common mistakes that kill these programs? Let's get into that.
Well, like I just features versus benefits. Yeah. I tell you, one of my biggest mistakes was on selling maintenance agreements from the get-go was selling it on the discount and not the value. And I know that's point number one right off the bat. Don't sell it like it's a discount club. You know, Sam's Club is great. Costco's great. You buy in bulk. How many things do we really need to go buy in bulk? Shane and I hardly ever need it. I go buy some drinks in there. My protein shakes I get there. You know, we keep energy drinks in the office for people. And so I buy those there. Is that worth me paying the $80, $90 a year to be in the Sam's Club? I don't know. I could probably get it at Kroger for just as much when you count in the discount. But don't sell it on the discount. Sell the maintenance agreements on the value, right? What I'm here to do today on this inspection is this. I'm going to go into your electrical panel, tighten up all the connections. I'm going to look at your dryer, make sure there's no dryer lint here, there, and everywhere. I'm going to look at your hoses connected to your washer, see how old they are to see if they need to be replaced. And that's something that we can talk about, because if these hoses are 10 years old or whatever, build value in why you need to replace those hoses now, right? So look at the value, right? Look at the benefits of what you're wanting to inspect. And I know you guys have got inspection sheets. I think I'm not overstepping my boundaries there. You've got inspection sheets, right, for maintenance agreements?
We've got a lot.
Yeah. So there's things that are in there when it comes to appliance repair companies. Call me out for electrical. I don't know if you guys got anything in there for electrical. Even bug guys. I mean, you know, think about that. I know Chris gets on here and Andy gets on here. They own a exterminating business. They have hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands, of maintenance agreements. Pick another industry's brain on what they're doing. I remember going over to EJ's and we sat at a table and wrote out a bunch of things. And then he followed up a few months later, came here to the office, and we just wrote on the board different thoughts we had about maintenance agreements. So he picked my brain as an electrician and we came up with something. So I know a plumbing company here in town that is killing it with maintenance agreements. So go pick another trade's brain if you're really having a tough time figuring out what to do. It'd definitely be worth it. But what are some other things that you can do to avoid some mistakes to kill these maintenance programs?
Well, not following through. Like we discussed that before. You got to follow through. Make sure you deliver the checkups.
You're taking their money. You better do what you say what you're going to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Pricing it too low. You got to know your cost of doing business. That has to be calculated in.
Yeah.
Well, your profit margins need to be calculated into it and then discount off of that.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because when we first started getting into maintenance agreements, we didn't know what to price. You know, in 2004, it was kind of a new thing in the electrical world to be doing maintenance agreements. So the forum, the mastermind that I was in, we're like, okay, we don't know what to price it at. We don't know what the market's going to bear. Let's just start out at $99 a year. So we did it at $99 a year. I was having trouble selling it, so I dropped it down to $79. I sold the crud out of them. And I'm like, long story short, we ended up at like $149. So we ended up going higher because I was finding at the $79 route, there were so many people buying it that they weren't buying it on the quality and the value. It wasn't my ideal customer for a maintenance agreement, right? So you may have to try a few different prices before you actually land on the right price. But make sure you're not just giving it away. Like Mike said, Absolutely. Make sure your profitability is in there first and foremost. Definitely shouldn't be any less than your dispatch fee. That's right. 100%. So, because you're going to be going out there 2, maybe 3 times a year in the appliance world. So you got to make sure you keep that in there and count that cost of that. Yeah.
So the biggest mistake I see every person making for every appliance company that I talk to.
Wait.
Trying to implement this.
Let me think. Not training your people on how to actually sell it and get it out
Exactly.
to the clients. Yeah.
It's usually just the business owner. They're the only ones that actually get how to sell it, right? And they can talk until they're blue in the face to their techs, and the techs just don't get it.
Yep.
But the techs need to know this is their job. A lot of them, oh, I'm not a salesperson. The hell you're not. You're walking into a home every single day, multiple times a day. That makes you a salesperson.
Yeah.
You know, every single time, multiple times a day. You should be very, very good at it at some point. And if you're a technician that's not looking at yourself as a salesperson and trying to learn those skills for yourself so that you can better the company and be an asset to the company that you work for.
Yeah, don't cut that word off short.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest mistake. I mean, that should have been our point one. Because in my opinion, that is the most critical thing that you have to do.
Yeah, that's definitely important. I 100% agree with you there. I will say full force, when we first originally started rolling out our maintenance agreements, I lacked on that aspect, but I was the only one selling it. So what I did the second go around in 2008, when we revamped things, is I took two of my top guys that I had with me, and I rolled out the new program to them, taught them, instead of rolling it out to all 5 guys that we had at that time, the top 2 guys that typically had the most as far as maintenance agreements goes and closing those, rolled it out to them, saw how they did with it. And once I saw that, okay, it is working. Okay, what do we need to revamp? And, you know, for a week or two, I checked in with them almost daily. How'd things go today? And I'll tell you this, closing percentage wise, you need to be about 1 out of every 4 service calls you go on, you should be closing a service agreement. It really, I would think it'd be more than that, but that's the national average. The minimum you should be doing is 1 out of every 4 calls you go on, they should be getting involved with the service agreement. So
yeah,
once
let's think about that. Say your service agreements are $225, $250, and you're doing 80 to 100 calls a month, and you were able to sell 25% of those customers a service agreement.
Yeah,
do that math.
Yeah,
per month. I mean, seriously, do that math.
Well, I think it was Gaspar. We helped him get maintenance agreements going, and I think his first month, I think I'd have to look back. This has been a year or two ago. His first month, he pulled in like an extra $4 or $5 grand in service agreement fees. I mean, think about that. To a small business, how much an extra $4 or $5 grand a month would help you out. I know for a lot of you, you take that money, you put it in a totally different bank account, do the Mike McCowitz profit first thing. You save that crap for a rainy day.
Well, and you should, because it's like these customers are buying a maintenance agreement. It's like insurance-ish, right?
Yeah, kind of. Depends on what you're using it for.
You know that every quarter you're going to have to go out and do certain things. So you're going to have to pay your technician to go out and do certain things, right? There's going to be some costs involved.
Yeah.
So you can't say, oh, this month, that's a lot of extra money. Now I can blow it and I can do all this other stuff. No, you need to earmark it.
Well, the other aspect is paying your technicians. If they close a service agreement, you should be giving them a portion of that. Be it $20, $25, $50, whatever you want to pay them, depending on how big the plan is. We didn't really and that should be coming out of that money, right? So you're putting that money into a separate account. You pay your technicians on that. Each year, we called it mailbox money, because each year, if that customer stayed with the program, they still got piece pay, performance pay, commission pay, whatever you want to call, off of that customer re-signing back up. Or if it was on auto debit, which we started doing a few years back, auto debit, where it would automatically withdraw. So in the agreement, the customer would have to call us to cancel that, right? So we got to have a one-to-one conversation with them But again, it's still every year we go out. Hey, just thought I'd let you know this revamps on this date. Just want to make sure you're still good with that. If you just sign off right here, it's all in the system, all in the CRM. So, yeah, keep them coming. And that's one of those things, monthly versus yearly. As long as they're on an auto debit, auto renewal, and you have the paperwork to back it up, that's where I sold so many of them on, again, that discount. Hey, this is going to help you right here and right now. Today, it's going to save you a few $100. It pays for the plan. I sold it like that way too many times, and that's a horrible way to sell it. I didn't sell it on the value. I sold it on the discount. And those people didn't re-sign back up. Time and time again, they bought it on the discount, not the value. So I'll go back to that one.
Yeah. So,
but we didn't even talk about tiers, like different tiers of.
Yeah, that was my next thing I was going to mention. You should have multiple versions.
Yeah.
To offer people, and they'll always pick the middle one.
Well, I'll tell you from experience,
no one's ever going to pick the lowest one.
I at one time had 4 different levels of plans. It was way too many. 2 to 3. Oh, why does it keep zooming out for? I turned it off, but
because you're talking with your hands.
Yeah. 2 to 3. Yeah, this is really weird. I don't know. Well, 2 to 3 different plans. And it was just confusing as all get out. It was hectic. And so, I'm sorry, not 2 to 3, 4 plans. Welcome to my office, by the way. 2 to 3 plans was perfect, right? Now, when we threw in heating and air, that got confusing because not only did I have electrical maintenance, I had heating and air maintenance. And some clients had boiler systems. Some clients had central heating and air systems. So it was like I could only sell just the AC plan. We're in a really weird part of the world where boilers versus heating and air, central air, window units, we got it all. And it would just make things so much more easier if they were just all central. But the reality is we didn't have that. So I had to create multiple tier levels of things. So that can get a little confusing sometimes. Biggest point is keep it simple as you can for people. Make it easy for them to say, yes, that sounds like me. That's what I need.
Yeah. But make sure it's easily for you to manage as well. 100%. It's got to be simple for them to make a decision and know very clearly what it defines, but obviously you need to make sure it's simple for you.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So let's recap. Predictable profits don't happen by accident. They happen by design. So you need to design this system that works for you. Every area is going to be different in different markets. There's look and see who else in your market is offering these.
Yeah.
That's the easiest, most simple way to figure things out. And if it's working for them, it'll work for you as well. Mm-hmm. Find out, get in mastermind groups, get in peer groups, start asking questions in the Facebook groups. Just start asking questions and finding those answers. People will help you through that. And you'll find a lot of people, in the Appliance Alliance group that have already gone through this, and they can help speed up all this, newness for you, and
the newness for
you can be faster to implement. So when you shift from a reactive business to a proactive relationship driven business, everything changes. So membership programs aren't just a way to make some extra money. They're a lifeline that can establish cash flow and empower your team and build loyalty in a transactional world.
Yeah.
So
good stuff. Well,
yeah,
I know we're getting long, so we're going to jump off here. Hopefully you guys have gotten some great information on this. If you found something useful, pay the fee, which is free, right? It's simple and easy to pay the fee. All you got to do is just go like, subscribe, share, Service Alliance Group, Appliance Marketing Pros, or My Office Help. And that's how you pay the fee. It's pretty simple. So looks like
if you want to know more about the membership plans, if you're an all access member of the Service Alliance Group, July 19th, TK is going to be going over these membership plans in depth for
I'm just trying
at
to
least
poke
a good
you.
hour and a half session.
I'm just trying to poke you. It ain't working.
Nice.
July 19th.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful week and hope you make some progress.
Make it a great day.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to the Morning Grind podcast by Service Alliance Group. Subscribe to our channel and make sure you visit our website at servicealliancegroup.com for appliance repair business resources.